and not only does he have to leave, but there's the reason why. I want him to introduce our next speaker before the candidates come up. Noah Burroughs, Assemblyman Noah Burroughs, is always trying to make every community better, right? When he was just Trustee Burroughs, he had his hand in other communities. And the issue with him, the problem he had was, why are we doing this to each other? Why are Democrats fighting each other? We need to help each other. And Assemblyman Burroughs was out there knocking on doors and putting up signs. I don't see elected officials do that for another candidate at that time. That candidate at that time was Scott Davis. And then he goes into other communities that he don't represent, and he said, there's got to be a solution for what's going on. He called me one day. So I'm going to give you a little background because I want Noah to introduce this next speaker. So there's a situation where someone is presumed dead, should be off the ballot. The Republicans want that person to stay on the ballot. Guess who's going to vote for someone who's presumed dead? In fairness, that person should have came off the ballot and allowed for another candidate to take that spot. And the Republicans fought it and they went to court. But Noah called me one day and he said, but what if we still voted for that person? And I said, well, But there was a method to that. Why? Because if you still vote for that person who's on the ballot so you can legitimately vote for them, then there would have to be a special election where someone else could run, right? Someone else could run and possibly win that seat legitimately. And that idea was passed on and promoted, and I think that's where we're at. So I know you have to leave, Assemblyman Burroughs, but would you please do the pleasure of speaking and then introducing Mr. James Hodge, please. Thank you.
So, thank you, Andrina, for introducing me. So I'm going to tell you this, Andrina. In the district, things that are happening in the district mean more to me than it does, in a sense, some of the things that we're doing in Albany. So with that being said, I know that there was so many events, there were so many rallies, there's so many people that needed to maybe a little push to make sure that we can continue to help the candidates. So I canceled my trip. I think it's more important for me to be here. So initially my idea was to come here and leave and drive 5-6 hours away, but I think it's more important for me to be here, so I'll be here for the rest of the remainder of these days, continue to help the candidates. So, as everyone spoke, as the mayor spoke, as Supreme spoke, and even Andrina, we are in a place of complete disarray. We're in a place where it's so scary to be an American citizen. And so we're trying to do as much as we can at the state level. There's not enough being done to protect us locally here at the county and the town level, which is why I've been trying so hard. I've been doing so many things that I could do to try to help Seth, to help Joe, to help Joylette, to help Deputy Supervisor Gooseby, Scott, of course, and Olina, because if we don't protect ourselves here, we're the last line of defense locally, which is why one of the reasons I preach majority of the time, you have to vote local. If you don't vote local, you don't have a say-so in anything. So Seth and Scott, you and even Olina, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you look over the past 30 years and you ask yourself, how much was given to these minority districts that we live in? And what would that number look like, right? You could compare that number to, let's say, 5 of these minority districts, and you can compare it to the majority districts. The number would probably be somewhere in 100 millions versus probably 3 million, which is insane when you think about it. So some of the things that the mayor and the deputy mayor, myself and the trustees, what we have to do, we have to figure out ways to be unique, to get funding, to do things in the village of Hempstead. I have to get unique and finding ways to get funding throughout the rest of the district. Roosevelt, Uniondale, Baldwin, all these places that I represent. And luckily for me, I have a speaker in Carl Hasty who really respects what I'm trying to do here and bring a complete chain link together. So right now we have a partner at the state level. We have a partner at the village level. We have partners in different districts at the county level. But we don't have the county executive yet. We don't have the town supervisor yet. But I want to say this right now. The same way we got coordinated, the same way we were coordinated for the congressional and the presidential election, we didn't get what we wanted to get with the presidential election, but we got what we needed as far as congressional representation. We need to do the same thing when it comes to Scott and the rest of the candidates in front of this audience, because we need fair representation. I was talking to Seth outside, and if you look at the congressional map of how individuals voted here, you would see a dark blue. You would see a dark blue saturation. You know what that means? That means Hempstead came out to vote. If you want resources, everyone knows you have to come out and vote, right? So guess what? We need that same dark blue that we saw for the congressional and the presidential election last year. We need the same thing in November. So we need to make sure that everyone in this room, as Supreme said, come, but bring 5, and have those 5 bring 5. You add that number up, next thing you know, we've got more than enough that we need to take the town and to take the county, and then we have that complete chain that I was talking about. We need that, and we need your help. So please, as much as you see importance, what's going on in the presidential White House, we need to be able to protect ourselves here locally. So with that, I say, please, let's make sure that we go out and find multiple people to help us go out and vote. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. So, like I said, one of the major reasons that I'm leaving